As you know, I'm going on a 196-mile walk throughout Tennessee. I told you earlier this summer that I'm eating my way through Tennessee, and now I'm walking it all. And so we are up in the 70s, so about a little over, like about 40% of the way there towards this walk, with about 12 days to go towards the election. But here's the exciting news that I want to bring to you tonight in Winchester. We're winning this election. We are winning this election. Record voting, early voting, and I'm thankful for the people who are all age being here. But I want to tell you something as a millennial running for the office, the youngest man that will win this seat since Al Gore. We have doubled turnout under 40 here in the 4th Congressional District. Nearly double the electorate under 40 showed up in 2020, as was the record-breaking in 2018. Let me put it this way. We've had 3 times the amount of voters under 40 who showed up so far in early voting. And you know who that terrifies? That guy down in Sherwood. It terrifies them. This energy of this campaign, I told you time and again that I was not lying, that we're building it all across the state, and now you see it in the flesh. And I'm sure you're excited. I'm sure you're excited. After this, I have the honor of going up to Nashville to see the debate with, I'll be changing, but seeing the debate between Joe Biden and the president. But what's so exciting is what's happening big in Tennessee is happening in rural Tennessee. It's happening in rural Tennessee. We're reclaiming what it means to be a Tennessean. Democrats have been beaten up for a long time, and I told you that this campaign, we've got to start fighting back. And to be frank, Congressman Dave Arlett doesn't know what to do with himself. He's lost his mind. He's never campaigned before. He doesn't know what to do. So he's probably out this nonsense attack saying I'm some radical leftist. I'm bringing Antifa to the crowd to town. Honestly, I look like a kid who could bring the Glee Club to town, but not Antifa. No one's buying it. No one's buying it. No one's terrified of me. They know me, and they don't know him.
Oh, is that all 6 members of Antifa in them?
Exactly. They've run out of attacks. They've run out of resources. We are winning this election, but folks, it's only going to get tougher, and we've got to double down. There's 3 things that you can do to help this campaign. Number 1, it is not too late to give money. We have over 6,000 donors to this campaign. The average contribution online has been $32.11. So I need resources to help me keep going through Election Day. We don't want to just sustain operations. We want to expand operations. So it's like an altar call. It's on a Thursday night here. Will you raise your hand if you'll commit to pledging to give to my campaign tonight? Will you give money to the campaign tonight? Thank you. My colleague Brendan will has a card reader, so we can do it online, or we can take cash or check. I promise you, it isn't going to McDonald's. It's going to fund this movement across all 16 counties. The second thing you can do is those signs. Let me tell you why those signs matter so much. There's a guy named Jeremy who lives in Springdale, up in Murray County, at the very edge of the district. He works at that GM plant. They just got that new hybrid car, the electric car that they're working on. So Jeremy is a Republican, okay? But he saw outside the McDonald's one day this summer my sign, and he loved it. He loved the sign, thought it was hilarious. It caught his attention, his buddy's attention. He looked me up, and he liked what I was standing for. He liked my policies. He liked who I was. Said I had a good smile, etc. And he's all in. And then about 3 weeks later, he went to church where he's down in Columbia, and he found out the absolute worst news of the summer. Chris Hale's a Democrat. But here's what happened. Jeremy, for the first time in his adult life, asked himself, who is my congressman? Jeremy, who learned that I was a Democrat at church, pro-life, Jeremy asked who his congressman was. Pro-family, pro-Christian values, Jeremy asked who his congressman was. And what happened when Jeremy, for the first time in his life, Googled who is my congressman and found out Scott Desjardins was his congressman? His record came up, and the choice came clear. Jeremy, 43 years old, lifelong Republican, never voted for a Democrat. Quite frankly, he's not going to vote for Joe Biden. He's voted for Chris Hale. It's because of those signs. The signs got them into the door. It gave me a chance to actually run against my opponent and not just simply run as a Democrat versus a Republican. If we can make this Chris Hale versus Scott Desjardins, we will win this election. Those signs have gotten attention. We have thousands of them. We have more with us. We can clear them out. Also, too, I think we have with us a few of our famous marijuana legalization signs. I don't know if you've all seen the green ones as well. Marijuana legalization, maybe not everyone agrees with me on that, but about everyone under 40 agrees with me on that. And we can really boost the rural economy and honestly boost turnout. Do you know the average consumer of marijuana fits the following profile in the state of Tennessee? Rural, male, Republicans. People we need to vote for us. So we have those signs. So if you're open to taking a sign, you don't even have to put on your lot anymore. If you know somewhere around Franklin County that you can put the sign, would you be willing to take one tonight? Would someone take a sign and place them somewhere tonight? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And here's the final act. I know a lot of you have been texting, volunteering. We have now like 650 volunteers. We're on pace to do about 1 million contacts with Tennessee voters. It's unimaginable. It's a great thing. I need non-Democrats. We know this. I can get every Democrat on God's green earth, and we get about 28%. Remind you that Hillary Clinton lost this congressional district by 41 points. We know where we live. Every one of you, a lot of you aren't Democrats, but every one of you knows a lot more Republicans than you know Democrats. Where are the Jeremys right here in Franklin County? We're the folks that might not vote for Biden, might not vote up ticket, but they'll vote for one Democrat. Because you know what I found? Is conservatives in Tennessee like to maintain their independence. They want to find one Democrat who's worth voting for. Here's the message I have to them tonight. I'm the Democrat Republicans should vote for. I am Republicans' best choice in this election. If you care about faith, if you care about family, if you care about freedom, if you care about dignity of human life, I'm your champion, and Scott Desjardins is not. You've got to realize that every summer in Tennessee heat, a third of Republicans go to the polls to tell Scott Desjardins to go take a hike. If a third of Republicans do the same, we will win this election in a landslide. In a landslide. So here's my ask. Please sign up to volunteer. It's not too late. But very specifically, will each one of you commit to talking to a handful of Republicans in your community, at your church, at your place of work, and tell them that Chris Hale is the guy, the one guy that they should vote for. Thank you. Thank you. I want you to hear the argument I want to make. Okay? I want you to be very clear on the argument that I've been trying to make. We know where we're from. We know the congressional district we're from. I'm not going to be some far radical leftist. This is the basis on pure politics. This is one of the most conservative districts on God's green earth. So here's the reality. My loyalty at the end of the day is not to Nancy Pelosi, AOC, it's not to Joe Biden or Donald Trump. It's to you and your family. And if these folks do not like me in 2 years, man, they will have a lot of choices to replace me. Can you imagine the Republican primary in 2022? Anyone with a checking account, a pulse, and a Republican identification will run, and they'll have plenty of choices they do not like. They are not giving me keys to the kingdom, okay? They're giving me 2 years on a seat that the people of Tennessee own, and if they do not like me, kick me to the curb. Scott Desjardins is not a good congressman. And Republicans know that. Republicans can do way better than Scott Desjardins. He hasn't had a town hall in 7 years. I've had 165 events in 6 months. 6 months in all 16 counties. I'm walking 196 miles to win this election. They understand hard work. People in Tennessee value hard work. I work hard and my opponent's lazy. The leading Republican journalist in the United States said Scott Desjardins is America's worst congressman. I agree. I agree. Give me a chance. Ask those folks to give me a shot. I won't let them down. And if I do, they'll have plenty of options to replace it. They're not giving me keys to the kingdom. They're giving me a 2-year lease on a seat they own. You're my best validators in Franklin County, not me. It's y'all that can do it, not me. So will you raise your hand right now if you promise to talk to Republicans and non-Democrats in this community to help get me over the top.
Try.
Keep trying. It's worth it. Let me tell you the truth. We don't need to win Franklin County, but we need to do better than we've been doing. I'm going to rural Tennessee to take margins. We've lost some of these counties by 50 or 60 points. Do you understand how you've got to understand how much it helps me if we can take a county that we've been losing 70-30 and losing it 57-43. You've got to realize that makes a huge difference at the end of the day. Scott Desjardins has never campaigned. When we campaign, we're going to win. So, folks, I told you all throughout the spring and the summer and now on the fall that you might not know it then. But I know you know it now. This big crowd gathering at 5 p.m. on a Thursday confirms what you know in your heart. You're looking at your next congressman. So thank you so much for having me, and I think we're going to walk.